Do you ever feel responsible for everyone's happiness, everyone's problems, and everyone's emotions? If you're carrying the weight of your teenager's struggles and wondering why you are so exhausted, this conversation is for you. Do you want to achieve your goals, but anxiety is tripping you up? Like to keep those fun weekend plans, but depression has you counseling again? Hey, I'm Lori, dog mom, lover of nature, and hygge enthusiast. Positive psychology skills help me overcome chronic severe PTSD. If you're ready to learn how to overcome your anxiety and depression and rediscover happiness and purpose in life, then get your cozy on and let's get started. Welcome back to Practical Solutions for PTSD. I want to take just a minute to remind you of the free handout, the boundary setting worksheet. You can go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/podcast. Get your free copy. It's a 7-step guide to walk you through the practical steps of setting boundaries so you can protect the most valuable resource you have, and that is you, your time, your energy, your calling. Make sure that you're on track with that. So again, go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/podcast and pick that up today. And with that, we're going to jump into the second part of our interview with Terri Lee as we wrap up this fantastic conversation on better communication with our teens. So if you have a parent in the audience who is listening to this and like, man, I really screwed up, and how do I fix that? Or my teen is really struggling and I want to carry that burden for them. How do they let go of the emotions that they can't control? They can't control their child as much as they would like to. You can't really. So understanding what your controllables are, what your uncontrollables are, how do you lay that down when you're working with your child? That is so important to you.
Yeah, that's a huge one, because even when we start to lay it down, it's easy to pick it back up, right? So I mean, just talking to yourself, reminding yourself again of your identity, of who you are. I can control myself. And that's where we go again and again. I can control myself. I cannot control my kids. I mean, you can think you can, but once they're in a car and they got a license, there's no, nothing's going on there. You can try all the punishments and the restrictions, but that's just going to cause more distance, right? So just reminding myself that God's got them, that He loves them more than I do, that I think the deeper that the connection is being built as well, it's easier because you can start having these conversations, right? Whereas before, you're just trying to manage it and correct it and fix it. It got to a point where when one of our kids, we had our middle daughter in particular, that lived very outside the lines for some time. And just being able to say, hey, what's going on? Tell us more. What are you thinking? What's happening with the least amount of reaction. Then as they started to talk, it came to be more just anchored overall, because we could hear their perspectives and what they were thinking. We weren't walking on assumptions anymore. We weren't thinking and planning out of assumptions of what was going on. We actually got to hear their voices, and they became more receptive to listening to us. And so it's just one step at a time. I just say it's one step, one conversation, one interaction at a time, that you're reminding yourself. And if you blow it, I did this plenty of times. You know what? I blew it. You were trying to talk. I started to fix. I know you can make good decisions. I mean, using those positive not just celebrations that you talked about, but I'm sure you talked about this too. It's like, hey, I know you've got a good mind. I know you've got a good head on your shoulders. Even if they're making mistakes, they really do. That's who they truly are. It's just that they're operating out of their own fears and their own anxieties and their own insecurities. And I think that's helpful to see where our kids might be coming from, rather than just looking at the behavior. I know I kind of like went off track on your on your question.
Oh, no, I really like it, because one thing I learned as a teenager myself in my early 20s, I tended to either live up or down to the person's expectations. If their expectations of me were low, I would live down to them. If their expectations were high, I would do everything I could to meet them. So being able to put that out there and say, look, I know you've got a good brain. I know you can make good decisions. I trust you. You're
Hmm.
smart. You're talented, whatever that may be. I think that helps bring the bar up for them that they want to strive and
Yes,
reach
yes,
that.
yeah.
Especially if you establish a relationship of trust between the two of
Yeah,
you.
and what you hit on is really good because every time we do those kinds of things, that anchoring gets stronger. I tell my moms every time you listen instead of try to fix, you're anchoring yourself more. You're more steady. Every time you invite them to say more and you stop and you listen and then you invite them again because I say keep inviting them until they're done. Let them let it all. Questions are way down the line in our communication skill set because every time you do that, you're getting more anchored, which is really powerful about the skills. And I didn't mention this earlier, but reflecting back what you're hearing is really powerful too, because you know how oftentimes you go into a conversation, you're already thinking about what you're going to respond with. Okay. I think as parents, we do that way, 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 way a lot. Yes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so when we can just stay calm and listen, reflect back what we're hearing in their words, not the words we want to take them to a certain place, like we want to direct, we've got this agenda. But when we're just reflecting back in their words and then inviting them to say more again, you get to breathe a minute, right? You get to anchor more. You get to listen more. And it's really powerful just in using those skills. And I'm sure the skills that you teach as well. The more you use them, the more anchored, the more grounded you become, and the less emotional you're going to react. You're going to start responding more rather than reacting because now this is the way you're communicating. So,
Mhm. Yes, that's really good. And you're right. The more you use anything, the better you
mhm.
get at it. And then when you do screw up, you've got some kind of, it's like a bank account. You've deposited a lot of stuff in there. So when you debit, take something out, you still have something there to build
Yeah,
on. You're like, man, I really screwed up, I'm really sorry. But you have a history of, putting stuff into that account
yeah.
that will help you recover a lot faster than you
Yes,
would.
that's awesome.
Why does connection reduce the stress between parent and child, for both individually and in that relationship? And then what is one communication shift that can help rebuild that connection when it's been
Okay.
damaged?
So, connection, I look at the world as having two basic worldviews, separation and connection. And if you look at
Hmm.
any aspect of our world, it's usually built there. It's either an us or them or it's a us. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. And so connection is powerful because when we have some kind of connection, our kids are going to want to talk, right? Because you're promoting that closeness, that acceptance, that love, that kindness, that just sense of my mom likes me. My mom wants to be around me. My mom cares about me, right? Because we all want to be known, seen, heard, loved. And the power of connection to break down walls is, I mean, it's phenomenal. I think a lot of times we bypass it because we don't think of the world in terms of connection and separation. And since so much of what we encounter in the world is about separation, this is refreshing. It's new probably a lot to kids in what they're experiencing in the world, in schools, on social media, and that kind of thing. And my husband says this a lot. He says, if your kids don't talk to you, they're going to go find someone else to talk to because they want connection. And that's what I think is really powerful about it is our kids want that. They might not be acting like it, but they want it. They want that
Hmm.
connection. So that connection is going to build that trust. I really look at it as the foundation of our relationships because when we make that our goal, we can really walk through anything, even if we have differences of opinion, because you are important to me and I'm going to do whatever
Right.
I can to keep our relationship good and keep it strong and stay connected to you, even if we disagree, right? And that's something I think that that whole separation part that we deal with as parents of teens is that I need agreement with my child instead of simply understanding. But we forget that they are their own person, right? We're not going to agree on everything. And when we hold up that standard that we have to agree, then impossible to have that kind of connection. And then they're not going to be honest. They're not going to come to us. They're not going to allow us to speak into their lives, which is really powerful. And I know a lot of moms want. We want to be appreciated. We want to have that influence in their lives. So I would say the uh, the one, how did you word that? The one skill, the one thing that we can do to make that shift. Yes,
Yes.
it's
Be able to rebuild if you have broken
to rebuild.
communication.
Yes, it is the invitation to say more and listening. I mean, that's really what everything goes back
Mhm.
to. Because of that need, that desire that we have to just not be connected, but to be known, heard, and seen.
That is a very powerful tool, and I really appreciate you sharing that. One thing I really liked when you talked about the difficulty with a parent and child often is because you want them to agree with you. You want agreement between you. And I was actually thinking of asking you this question anyway, and that was just like triggered it. Um, is how to do that, how to have that connection, how to focus on the connection when your child is doing something that you really disagree with, that you think is going to harm them, that you think is wrong for whatever reason, you strongly disagree with their choices. But how do you let that stand, the disagreement stand, and still connect with them? Because I've heard this before, like if I do this, they're going to think I approve of it.
Yes, I hear that. If I don't, if I listen, I hear this. If I listen, they're going to think I agree, right? And to
Yes.
me, that's
Yes.
just something you need to change your mind about. And we have that power, right, to transform our mind, to change our mind about what we think. Because when moms, when anyone in any relationships start doing these kinds of skills, then you
Hmm.
see the benefit of it. You see what it brings you, right? You see just the powerful things that happen in the midst of it. And so you have to just keep doing it. You have to keep doing it. You have to keep showing up. You need to stay in there. Remember, you are just seeking to understand. And I really, the way I pray for moms a lot is that when we can see the heart of where our kids are, we can begin to get in touch with where our hearts were at that time, right? It's that whole thing where can you walk in the shoes of another person that you're listening to? That's how we have empathy. It's how we have compassion. And when we can make those choices to understand versus agreement, then we can go there. And as you build that connection, I mean, the stronger the connection, the easier this whole process gets. Because with my kids now all in their 30s, we can say, either one of us can say, you know what, we really don't we don't really see it the same way. We don't really agree with that. We have these concerns, but we know that you're making the best decision that you can right now with the information you've got. And that was a phrase, a way of thinking that has helped me a lot over the years is that my kids made the best decisions they could where they were at the time. And then looking back at my own life and going, huh, I didn't always like that decision that I made. And that was kind of a mistake, but I made the best decision I could at the time with the information that I had, where I was in life, how I was thinking. Just choosing to understand and laying aside the agreement, but building the connection in that time. And as you're building that connection, being able to have the freedom to share your disagreements in ways that are going to be
Hmm.
helpful. I mean, I go through that like a whole way of talking that is just not the way we normally talk. And it's
Right.
powerful because you're able to share your heart without blaming someone or getting them to agree. So I know that's not really a super easy answer to do to just show up and do it. You've got to make the choice, right? That you're seeking to understand. And reflecting back, that's going to help you to see more, to see deeper to what's going on in them so that you can go, oh, okay, at least I know where they're coming from now. It's that like how you put it, the money in the bank. I use the analogy of I've got change in
Right.
my pocket, right? And so
Hmm.
some people say, well, you've earned the right to speak into their life. I just like to, I try not to look at it that way because then that seems like a performance to me. But it's that thing of connecting so that you have the opportunity to speak into their life. And just sometimes just have to be left where you disagree. And we've had those moments with our kids over the years.
I think part of it too, which would be more impactful, is if you give them space to explain to you what's going on so you
Hmm.
understand, even if you still vehemently disagree with what they're
Hmm.
doing, It gives you knowledge from which you can, one, pray for them more
Yes.
effectively, and two, if the opportunity comes up where they will allow you to speak into their life, you can speak more knowledgeably because you understand what's behind that decision and could potentially advise them against pitfalls. But you can't do that if you don't understand what's going on.
Right.
So I think part of it sometimes we tend to think it's a one or the other. Like I can either talk to understand or I can talk to judgment or correction or just speak into their lives. But I think we could do this like a both and. Like I can both sit down and understand what you're saying. And then when the opportunity arises, I can speak into your life and provide some advice and perspective and cautionary
Mhm.
whatevers. You can do both, but taking the time to understand first before you move to that second
Yeah. Well,
one.
and that's, oh,
And it
okay.
may end up being two different
Hmm.
conversations, like, spread apart, but you're still taking that time to just understand without like focusing on the correction part of it.
Right. And what you're bringing up is it's something I'd written down and wasn't thinking about it, was what you're talking about is creating safety in the relationship, a safe place for them to be
Yes.
able to
Mhm.
unpack and to just be where they are in their emotions too. And one of the things that I think I did as a mom is that if my kids had negative feelings, I wanted to try and cheerlead them out of it. Like, oh
Yes.
no, that, teen years are just really hard. They're just really hard. And it's going to be okay though. You're going to get through it. And one daughter, I mean, none of my kids needed to hear that, but one in particularly was feeling very depressed. She was feeling hurt, just really hurting, right? And because I was so uncomfortable with that, I had trouble listening to it. And so then I would try to just get her to negate it, really, was what I was trying to do. But then over time, as I listened more and I understood, then she felt safer to say things again and not lie because she started after that point in time. We had a number of things that were going awry, and lying was one of them. And but eventually, we were able to cross that threshold with her where we were able to listen, to understand, not necessarily agree. And we just kept showing up that way. And getting that out on the table was really helpful. Back to that honesty, right? But creating that safe space is just really powerful. It's what sets the stage for the trust to really be built.
Yes. And I love how you touched on the negative emotions because for my audience particularly, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of trauma for on whatever front it may be. And a lot of times we try to deny those negative emotions, or we've had other people do it to us, try to, well, I've actually had people tell me, Laura, you're a resilience instructor. You should know what to do. Like it doesn't mean that what you did didn't hurt. Like it still was
Yeah.
painful. So, it's trying to do that like toxic positivity and put a bandage over it and excuse it or push it under a rug or, platitudes or whatever. We know that pain. We feel that pain. So understanding to translate that into the life of your child and it's okay for them to not be okay.
Mhm.
And that's would be hard for a parent to hear, I can imagine, but it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
You don't want them to stay there forever, but they need to be able to identify those emotions and sit with them for a second and just process them before you usher them into it's going to be all right. You're going to
Well,
survive.
and then oftentimes we have the answers to our own problems if we're given enough time to work that through, right? I mean, our kids, instead of trying to solve the kids' problems, if we listen and we give them opportunity to unpack it, they're going to either work through it or they're going to find their solutions. And that is very powerful because that builds confidence in them, right? And
Yeah.
one process that I would love to share with your audience, if it's okay, it's something I do with my moms on
Yes.
calls because you brought the exact thing up. Negative emotions are an invitation to transformation. I used to see them as negative, but what I have found is that in my own life and working with moms and even with my kids. So when we have those negative emotions, it's like the signal light, the warning light on our dashboard. It's like, ooh, high alert, something's going on here, right? And instead of pressing them down
Yes.
or letting them flow all over the place, and out of control,
Mhm.
this process that I learned is really taking those negative emotions and being truthful about them because usually there's
Mhm.
a source and oftentimes it's fear, right? What am I afraid of that I am getting so anxious that my child is telling me that they want to go ride a dirt bike? What is going on
Yeah.
there? Well, I'm afraid that they're going to get in an accident and they're going to kill themselves. I mean, really, that's where we go to, right? And
Mhm.
so I take that now to God and I say, God, this is what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid, I'll just use that example. I'm afraid that my
Mhm.
child's going to get on that dirt bike. They're going to get stuck somewhere. They're going to roll over the handlebars. Something's going to happen and they're going to die. And and it's just out there, right? It's truthful instead of stuffing it down. And then I say,
Right.
so God, what do you want me to know about that? And this simple question, looking at what do you want me to know about that? Or another way of asking it is, what is actually true right now? Okay. It brings
Mhm.
us back to, okay, this is possibly, some people call it irrational fears. I don't label it that anymore. It's just fear. It's just what it is. We walk in it every single day to some extent. And so what do you want me to know about this? And then, well, I mean,
Mhm.
God might say, I love your child. They want to
Mhm.
do adventure. This is who they are, right? It's not always, well, they're not going to get hurt, right? I mean, it doesn't that, but just what do you need to know? It's like, this is something they want to try. This is something that they're adventurous about. And then, but I love them and I care for you and I care for them. And then, so what do you want me to do now with this, Lord? What do you want me to do, God? And that simple question. And then he'll tell me, hey, be honest about what's going on in your head about it. Can I ask some questions about this? Who are you going with? Are you going to have some kind of training? Just whatever it is that he tells you to do or that comes to your mind. I just think of it as that free flowing thoughts and things that come to your mind, or maybe you picture something and then moving forward in what to do. But what is powerful about it is when that we are truthful about the fear or the worry, the anxiety, whatever it is, it's like it rends it almost powerless, at least in that moment. It's not like the fear is not going to come back in, but we have a way now to deal with the fear, be upfront with it. We have the opportunity to change our mind about the fear and how we're thinking about it. And then we have the opportunity to move forward in spite of the fear and to do something with it. And so, however you walk that through with God or just letting thoughts come to you, it's a really powerful exercise. And I found when I do that with moms or with anyone, I've done it with all kinds of people, but when we do that, it's just all of a sudden there's often tears or that come because it's a release. We are just releasing this fear that is driving us and is bottling up, and it's affecting our communication and how we show up.
I love that. It's beautiful because I mean, in my positive psychology training, it's one of the things they talk about is we're so often like negative emotions, you shouldn't feel them. Feelings are feelings, and it's actually data. It's telling you
Mm-hmm.
something. So if you're feeling fear, if you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling stress, there's something driving that. There's a reason why you're feeling that. And so if you treat emotions like data, and I mean, it's not fact. It doesn't mean that, if you have a fear that you're going to walk out the door and fall over dead, it doesn't mean you're going to do that. But it's telling you something. It's giving you data of what's going on and lets you know how to explore that. It's kind of like a compass on a ship, like it's telling you which direction you're going. So I love how you're using that as just, okay, I'm afraid about this. What do you want me to know about this? This is data that I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting. So then I can then turn that around and use that to build a deeper connection with
Yeah,
my
yeah,
child.
because when that's off the table, then you can connect easily. So I guess that maybe uh, that would be the leader to one of your past questions is like, how do you do this? You start dealing with your own stuff, which is what you teach,
Yes.
but just
Yes.
moment by moment. I mean, it's just really powerful. I use that process almost every day.
I can imagine it would be a game changer in relationships for sure
Yeah.
when you're dealing with your own fear and
Hmm.
insecurities and, why do I feel this way? What's going on? And not trying to suppress it because suppressing does not get you anywhere. It just causes an explosion.
Right, right. Well, I use it, I mean, in business, in any kinds of, you could use it in sports.
Mhm.
There's just all kinds of things, applications there. So,
Yes. Very good principle. All right, so we're going to wrap this up, but I want you, before we leave, a couple things I want to ask you
mhm.
to do. One is for moms that are listening who are just exhausted, they're worried about their child, they feel disconnected. What is one small step that she can take today that can help bring peace to herself and more connection to her relationship?
So I would say choose one thing that we talked about. I do this in my podcast a lot. It's like, what is the one thing that you want to focus on? And just do that. So, most powerful, I would say, anchor your identity. Remember who you are, because that's going to be what carries you into the conversations. Anyone can listen for a while, anyone can give invitations to say more for a while. But when the conversations get tough and hard, what do you do then, right? You've got to pull back on in who you are, that you are enough. I love to tell moms that you are the best mom for your kids. You just straight up are.
Mm-hmm.
And that is truth. And I think really, I guess it would come back to saying, focus on what is true. And if false things are coming, then deal with those, but focus on what is true, one step at a time, one conversation at a time. And then I know this is a second step, but choose to invite your kids to say more. It's just really, really powerful. And you don't even have to, that's all you have to do. Invite them to say more and let the conversation in. Say, okay, great, thanks for sharing. You don't have to go any further than that. So
that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Terri. And I really appreciate that. So before we wrap up, I want you to let them know where they can find you, if you have any special deals that you want to offer them, and before we
okay,
close this.
great. My podcast is Connect with Your Teens, and that's where you can find me. There's different links in there that in the episode show notes that you can follow. I do have a freebie I would love to offer your audience. It's a Beyond Screen Time guide, a quick guide for moms. It just has conversation starters and things that they can use. And at the end of that, there's a couple of episodes that they can use that connect to that, because screens are such a big deal, right? We can feel so easily dismissed and ignored because our kids are on their phones and stuff. So I would love to offer that. Okay, they can find that at connectwithyourteens.com/ the word build dash connection dash screen time. So it's connectwithyourteens.com / build dash connection dash screen time.
I've really enjoyed this conversation, Terri. It's been fantastic, and I'm really excited to share it with my audience. And thank you very much for bringing wisdom and experience and tangible tools for them to get their hands on to be able to build stronger and healthier relationships with their teenagers. So thanks so much for being here, Terri. And I hope to have you back because you're my teen expert.
I love that. Well, thank you, Lori. It has been so fun. I love sharing. I love encouraging moms and giving them hope. And I so appreciate you having me. It's been a great time. And I look forward to coming back.
If you would like to connect with Terri, you can find a link to her podcast in the show notes below, along with a link to the freebie she was handing out. Or if you're looking for anything from this podcast, just go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com. Hey, my friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with someone you know who may be struggling with depression and anxiety? Also, would you please leave a quick review for the show? Knowing how this podcast is helping you fills my heart with so much joy, and it motivates me for future episodes. For now, it's time for Sam and I to head outside to enjoy some sunshine and fresh air. We'll see you back here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for more great episodes.